Oh, tea's rotten. Ugh. Ugh. Hi and welcome back to BookTube with Simon and Amy. This is going to be my mid-June wrap-up. Who can believe it's the middle of June already? I don't know where the time has went this year. I just feel like we blinked and then it was June. Life thoughts from Amy. Thanks. So I'm going to start structuring my wrap-ups a little differently. I'm going to start starting with the new releases, and then I'll finish up with the other books that I've read this month that aren't as new. So hopefully if you're watching my wrap-ups for my NetGalley arcs and for books that are going to be coming out, then you can watch the first half. Obviously you're welcome to watch the second half also, but then if you're maybe looking for a specific book that has already been out to see if I've read that, then it'll be in the second half of my wrap up to make it a wee bit easier to navigate, because I know I'm a rambler but I can't keep apologising for it. It's just who I am as a person. Like, I am a rambly human. Like, this is a ramble. I am rambling about rambling. It's rambleception. So first up, I read These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan, and this is a YA fantasy that's going to be released on the 20th of July this year, so next month. It had been taglined as sort of Cruel Prince meets A Court of Thorn and Roses, and I had seen loads of people on Goodreads being like, that isn't accurate. But I haven't read either of those books, so I can't comment on whether it is or not. But a lot of people were saying if you went into it with the expectation that it was going to be as good as either of those series, then you were going to be a wee bit disappointed. I haven't read them, so I didn't go into it with any expectations, and I really loved this book. So our main character and her sister, their father hasn't been in their life, and their mum runs away with a fairy, and they are basically left destitute. They have been living with their aunt. It gives me sort of a Cinderella vibes, you know. The aunt isn't very good to them. They live in the basement. She has daughters who she absolutely adores, and the sisters are basically the daughter's slaves. Cook for them, clean for them, make their clothes. Defo Cinderella vibes. But the aunt basically has a debt, and for everything really, for raising them, and every month that they fail to pay to this debt, she adds on more and more penalties, so their contract with having to live and be enslaved with their aunt is never going to end. And then our sister goes missing, and it's all about her trying to find out where her sister is and why she's went missing. Obviously I've mentioned fairies, so there are fae in this book, and surprise surprise, our sister's been taken to the fairy realm. And Bree, our main character, is a bit of a fae bigot, so she's really bitter about the fact that her mum ran away with one and basically left her and her sister to fend for themselves, which, I mean, fair, I think. So she is like against all things fae. She doesn't want to associate with them. She thinks that it's really shitty that they are living in the laps of luxury in this other realm when there are so many humans that are struggling. The fae also have humans as slaves. They also have humans as basically baby machines, because fae can't breed, they can't produce, well, they can, I'm assuming, they can enjoy the act of, but they cannot have children. Therefore, for their species to continue, they need to mate and breed with humans, and she really doesn't like it. She feels a wee bit like human are just cattle and sort of a commodity to the Fae, as opposed to being treated like humans. So she is loath to have to go to the Fae realm to save her sister, but she goes. She finds out a lot about her family, she finds out a lot about her friends, and it's just about her time there trying to save her sister. And I really enjoyed it. It's the first in a series of course, and I am already dying to read the next one because it leaves you on a wee bit of a cliffhanger, and we all know I didn't like suspense, so I'm already like itching for it. But I really enjoyed it. I thought there were parts where it was cheesy, but it's YA. I feel like the cheese is just part of it. Like, it's like when people like romance and it's a bit cheesy and they're like, aye, but it can't really be a good romance without the cheese. I feel like that's the same a wee bit for YA. And there's a love triangle. Like, yes, Brie is a bit annoying, but that's just standard. I really enjoyed it. I really liked most of the characters in it, and I did find Brie annoying, but I didn't find it difficult to connect with her. I was just like, no, fair enough. And I was totally hooked. So I rated this one a 5-star. I definitely recommend checking it out if you do like YA fantasy, and if you do like a book about Fae. I feel like that is like the thing the now. I feel like every single YA fantasy book that comes out has got Fae in it. Like, I could take them or leave them. I'm a mermaid kind of gal, but I enjoyed it, so give it a wee look. I've never read anything else from Lexi Ryan. I'm not too sure if she's got other books out, but I have tweeted her and let her know that I need the next book now. I am so ready for it, so hopefully it'll not be too long a wait, because we know how I am for finishing series. It's going to go on my shelf, I'm going to forget about it, and then like in 10 years time be like, oh my god, I wonder how that book ended, how that series ended. So aye, hopefully it's not too long a wait. The next NetGalley book that I read this month was The Library by Bella Osborne, and that's actually not getting released until the 6th of January next year. However, totally worth the wait. Totally worth the wait. So it is about two people. We have Tom, who's a teenage boy. He loses his mum really young, and so his dad is a single parent. They are struggling a wee bit for money, and he doesn't have the best social skills. He doesn't really have interests that he feels he can connect to other people with. He doesn't have friends, hasn't had a girlfriend, and he is trying to navigate his teens. And then we have Maggie. Maggie is a retired lady, and she lives quite a lonely life. So she lives in the outskirts of town. She has a farm. Our nearest neighbour lives sort of miles away on the next farm over, and their only form of social interaction is the fact that she goes into town and she takes part in a book club every Saturday. Now, Tom's mum really enjoyed reading, and Tom's mum always used to take him to the library, so he decides that he's going to start going to the library to read romance novels in the hope that it'll help him get a girlfriend. And at the library he meets Maggie, and they form an unlikely friendship and they become best pals. Now, I picked this up expecting this to be like a wholesome wee bus read, because we know that I read my NetGalleys on the bus when I'm travelling to and from work. So I thought this will be cute and it'll be wholesome, and like, my gran is my best pal, so like I totally get that vibe. So I was like, oh, it'll be great, like it'll be cute. And as much as it was cute and as much as it was great, it was a really emotional book actually. So the book deals with some really hard hitting topics, and it deals with them really well. So it deals with Maggie being lonely, and how she, you know, goes to shops and she's chatting to the cashiers a bit, and you know, she's looking for a wee bit of companionship and looking for some human contact, because it comes so few and far between for her. Also deals with Tom's loneliness as well, which is something I found really interesting. His dad works night shifts, so he's in the house himself most of the day. He doesn't have anyone to connect with at school, and his only social interaction really is on Xbox Live when he's sort of chatting to other people through that. But even then, like, it's not like he has a proper friend that he goes on to play with. It is just people randomly that he'll play with, and it deals with his loneliness really well. It deals with bullying, it deals with addiction issues, and it was just amazing. It was such a heartbreaking but wholesome wee story, and the way that the story develops as well is just brilliant. You get it from Tom's perspective, and when you're reading it from Tom's perspective, it's first person, so you're getting his thoughts, feelings, opinions, and it's really, really clever, because I think that Tom is our main protagonist as much as it's dual perspective. And then you get Maggie, and Maggie's is in third person, and I actually didn't even notice the shift in the writing style until I was a few chapters in, and I was like, something's different when I'm switching from them, and I didn't know why. Like, I don't know what it is. So then I started trying to pay more attention to figure out what it was, and then I realised that the writing style switched. So I didn't even, like, I noticed that there was something, but I didn't notice it in a bad way. It was just different, and I felt like I connected to the characters a bit differently. And I think it was because of the writing style, but it was really, really interesting. And I liked that when you were getting it from Maggie's perspective, that it was so much to do with Tom as well, because obviously it was in the third person, so it wasn't just her opinions, thoughts, feelings. So I really, really enjoyed it. And the ending of this book was just like the perfect ending, and I actually finished it in the house, and I'm so glad that I did. I had came home from work, and I was at like 90% or something, and I was like, I'm finishing this today. So I sat on the sofa to read the last 10%, and I'm glad that I did, because when I tell you, I sobbed. I sobbed. Simon was sitting working, because he's still working from home, and so he was sitting beside me while I was finishing it, and I was like, oh no. And I was just crying, and he was like, good ending, and I was just like, great ending. I couldn't even talk, and it wasn't like a particularly sad ending, like it was a really, really happy ending, but it just properly caught me off guard. It wasn't the ending that I was expecting, and it was just so lovely. The story was so lovely, and it deals with so many issues. I think that it really, if people read it, it'll maybe shed light onto how older people might feel if they're living alone, if their partner's passed away, and just how important it is to be checking in on them and making sure that they are getting that human contact. Equally, I think if it's a younger person reading it, they'll maybe, you know, relate to Tom a wee bit and reach out to friends or family. Oh my god, I've said reach out, and Simon just did a rant about this.
You're not reaching for anything, you're just sitting typing, probably with apostrophes where they shouldn't be, and all sorts of illegal syntax. You're not reaching, you are getting in touch, discussing. Stop reaching, or I will reach for your neck and choke the life out of your stupid, pathetic face.
Oh, sorry, editing Simon. So yes, maybe they'll decide to contact some people from schools, or try to find a hobby that they can get passionate about and make friends through, just like Tom did. But it was such a great book. I rated this a 5 stars as well. I absolutely adored it. I don't think that there is a fault with this book, and because it's on a farm as well, there are just so many cute wee animals, and like, it's amazing. I love an animal companion, so when you've got like rams and sheep and chickens and dogs and puppies, it's just so good. Honestly, if you like literary fiction, if you like unlikely friendships, when this book comes out, give it a read. It's just absolutely fantastic. So So then I read A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. So Simon got me the trilogy of this for part of my Christmas, plus the standalone book that's in the same universe, Times Convert. And I don't know why, but I've been so drawn to Times Convert more than I have been to A Discovery of Witches, although I've definitely wanted to read it. But I don't know why, A Times Convert has just properly drawn me in. So I was looking up to see if I could read that without having read the trilogy, or if like I would be missing out on stuff, and people had said read the trilogy first. So I was like, cool, no bother. So I thought I'll get that started. And I don't know, I had a bit of a mixed experience with this book. So I consumed it in 2 sittings. It was over the course of a couple of days while I was again decorating, because it's all I've been doing with my time other than work. And the first day that I listened to it, I got about halfway through the book and I was really loving it, and I was like, oh my god, is this going to be another 5-star? It's absolutely cracking. So we've got our... Oh, I look like I buffered in real life there. I forgot what I was going to say, my total train of thoughts away. So, basic premise, we've got Diana, and she is a scholar, and she is working on her latest project. She needs to give a speech about it in a couple of weeks, so she is hard at the research in the library. She is a witch, and she comes from a family of witches. However, she doesn't use her power. She feels that she doesn't want her life to be affected by her powers. She wants to earn everything on her own merits and on her own hard work, which is totally respectable. And while she's in the library one day, she has a bit of an odd experience with a manuscript, and she's not quite sure what's happened, but she definitely knows that there's been magic involved. And so she sends the manuscript away. She's like, no, like, I'm not here for this, I'm not getting involved, I'm here for the research. And then all hell breaks loose. So she meets a man called Matthew, and it turns out that Matthew is not a man, Matthew is a vampire. Matthew is trying to protect her, and she doesn't really understand why she needs protection. And all of a sudden, demons and witches and other vampires all come out of the woodwork to find out what Diana had learned from this manuscript. So basically that's what the story revolves around. It's all about this manuscript, what Diana knows, where the manuscript is now, because it then goes missing, and apparently has been missing for years, so no one quite knows how she managed to see it. And it uncovers this entire other world of creatures and their origins, and it's a wee bit of a mix because Matthew's a scholar as well, with them doing research and science and things like that involved in how all of their species came to be, which sounds right up my alley. And for the first half of the book, I really enjoyed it. I didn't mind Diana as a character. I don't know why people write female characters so annoying, and I feel like I say that every single video, like, and I don't know why. Like, maybe I just relate more to the male characters in books, I don't know, but there have been female characters that I've really enjoyed actually, so that's not true. So, don't know, but anyway, I didn't find Diana annoying at all. I really liked her. I felt like she was a respectable character. She had substance, and I was enjoying learning about her work. That was grand. And then Matthew comes along, and Matthew's interesting a wee bit in the beginning, I feel. You know, he's a vampire. I think that vampires are inherently interesting because they've lived for thousands of years, so they've known hundreds of different people. They've lived about 18 lives by this point. Difficult to make a vampire interesting, I would say. And it's basically just about them. So he doesn't want to push Diana for what she knows. Equally, he's trying to protect her, which is unusual because why would a vampire protect a witch? They're sort of enemies. And then just this entire plot unfolds as to why. And obviously Diana and Matthew have a romance. And that's where the book really lags for me. So halfway through, like, the first half of the book is all go. It is like action packed. You're meeting this person and that person, and you're being introduced to this group and this monster and that thing, and you're getting all of this information about this other world. and people are hunting Diana, so Matthew's taking her away, and you get to meet his family, and you're also learning from her aunt and her aunt's partner, sort of different lore and legends about witches. Diana's parents are both dead, and you learn a wee bit more about how they actually came to be dead. No, that's not a good phrase, but that's what we're going with, because words are failing me today. And so yeah, you learn more about them, and it's just like full steam ahead, and I was completely loving it. And then for the second half of the book, the romance just takes over, and honestly it just killed it a bit for me. Like, it was rubbish. and like, I get why people ship Matthew and Diana. I don't have an issue with them being together. Actually, I'd probably ship them too. So it transpires that there is a covenant in place that you basically can't date out with your species, so like they shouldn't be together, but they want to be together, so they're like, fuck the system. So like, that's totally up my street, and I would completely ship that. In fact, I'd day ship that, but the romance is just too much, and I just feel like it totally like absolutely dive bombed Diana's character development, because she starts off and she's like this strong independent woman, I don't need no man, like, and she is just all about her work and all about her own wee life, and she doesn't know what to use her powers, and she's like, Ken, I want to do my own thing, live my life by my own means. Rarely does anything that involves her power, like, because she just wants to live off her own merit, which is, I said before, completely respectable, because if I was a witch, God, I would be like spelling up the subscribers, I would be putting things on shelves with a magic wand, like I would be doing no work, absolutely no work. So like, fair play to her. But then all of a sudden she just flips, and this is my issue, to be honest, with books that have a vampire as a love interest, because I feel like every single character just ends up the same. Like, they will just do whatever the vampire wants them to do. Like, and I know that vampires can glamour, and so if they were using their glamour and tricking them into doing things, fine, because it's out with your control. But I feel like they didn't do that. They just end up doing whatever the vampire wants them to do, because they're like, oh, swoon, he's a vampire. Like, get it. So what? He's got fangs and what? Like, doesn't mean you need to do everything he tells you to do. Like, come on, he's not Darren Brown, he's not hypnotising you into it. Like, you've just decided to be this absolute helpless, needy person for no reason other than the fact cunt's got fangs. What? Where? Why? Like, another thing that really annoys me is when they are so helpless, and I feel like there's very few books that I've read where it's been a female vampire and a male, like, human, right? So I didn't mean to be hard on the women again, but again, I feel like the female human with the male vampire, like, they always end up just getting like carried, and like they can't do anything without the vampire being there. And like, Diana is like dead into her health and fitness, so she does yoga, she does rowing, she goes running. She is a strong, capable woman, but then at so many points throughout the second half of this book did she get too tired to walk upstairs and needed carried. What? Like, who's that tired that they can't walk upstairs? Who? And like, I'm not being funny, but if it was a normal human guy, do you think he'd be carrying her up the stairs? No. And see, if Simon even tried to lift me, I'd be like, what are you playing at? Like, put me down. Like, I didn't need carried. I'm not a baby. I'm not a dog. Like, I need you to carry me. So that annoys me, because why? Why do we have this? Why? And then also, like, has made the point throughout the entire book that she doesn't want to use her magic, and then he's like, well, you're going to need to learn to protect yourself, young lady, and she's like, dead on, mate, dead on. Let me just learn all of this magical stuff that I had absolutely no interest in before. Like, and fair enough, like, if her opinion had changed, like, if she was like, oh, hold on a minute, like, I've got demons and other witches and stuff after me, like, now, so, like, I definitely need to learn to use my power to protect myself, then that would be fine. But she literally never has this thought until Matthew suggests it to her. And all of a sudden, it's like the greatest idea since sliced bread. So that annoyed me. And then, again, like, I felt like there was just so much emphasis on them having a pump. Like, fuck or don't fuck. Like, there's just no need for it to be so drawn out, and she, like, again, does her usual, oh, what, you didn't want to have sex with me? Is it because I'm a lowly wee human? Like, thing that female love interests of vampires always do, and then he's like, no, it's not that, I just don't want to hurt you. Like, and it's like, this, I can't be. Like, it pisses me off, I can't wait, I can't. So there's so much emphasis on their sex life or lack thereof, or then it eventually happening, that it's just like off-putting, because I'm like, hold on, did you not just talk to me 2 chapters ago about this faction of society that, like, is a secret society for vampires that protects all these other vulnerable demons and witches and vampires and all of that cool stuff for, like, people try to kill them. Right, talk to me more about the secret society, please. Like, I'm no bothering if they're about to pump right now. That's dull. Talk to me about the secret societies. Like, hold on, did you not just mention that you knew Charles Darwin? Like, tell me more about that, please. I'm no bothered, like, if you're turned on or no. Like, get what I mean? Then, after they finally have sex, after all this should we know, like, all it focuses on is about them having bairns, because they can't, like, vampires can't have bairns, right, because they're dead, so fair enough, you would assume that they couldn't, but apparently, and they shouldn't, like, cross species, I was going to say pollinate, isn't it? Because they're no fucking daffodils. Like, they shouldn't cross species mate, right? They shouldn't be able to do that. And there's, like, this bit of this manuscript or philosophy that they think that Diana and Matthew will be able to have babies together. And earlier on in the book, she has explicitly said she has never given kids any thought. It's not something she really feels like would be for her. And obviously, like, when her and Matthew get together initially, he's like, you know, I can't give you bairns. And she's like, it's grand, no interested. Like, so about the work for me. And then as soon as they're like, oh, like, yous could maybe have bairns, by the way, she becomes like broody AF, like, instantaneously. Like, as soon as it's mentioned, she's like, babies are all I can think about, babies, vampire babies, baby witch, vampire hybrids, blah blah blah. And then, like, it's all about whether or no they should have bairns. And again, like, it's just dull. Can we get back to the manuscript and, like, the hunt for it? And can we, like, get back to finding out actual plot points as opposed to just wondering whether or no you should drop a sprog? Because, like, I could not give a flying hoot what you say. Like, I'm here for the action. I'm not here for the maybe baby. Like, I'm not bothered about that. Oh, hold on. And another thing that I've totally forgot to rant about that's just popped into my head. Again, strong gal, opinionated, has her own mind, right? Didn't want to use magic because she wanted every single decision to be made with, like, a clear head and to not have magic interfered with anything, right? But tells Matthew that she loves him and is like, you don't need to say anything now, but I love you, by the way. And then he's like, love you too, babes, and they have a wee smooch. Then just casually starts referring to her as wife, and she's like, am I missing something? Like, when did we get hitched? And he's like, right then, like, if a vampire tells you he loves you and he's kiss, yous are married. And And she's just alright with that. Like, she's just fine with it. Like, he didn't even consult her. He didn't even tell her beforehand that that was a thing. He just did it and then started calling her wife. And she was absolutely fine with it. Wasn't even the slightest bit annoyed. Was just like, oh, how cute, babes. Love you, hubby. No. No. So, I've gave it a 3 stars, right? Because the first half of the book was fucking dino. Like, I loved it so much, and I'm gonna need to read the second gen. Firstly, because Simon bought me the trilogy for Christmas and I'm not gonna be ungrateful. And then, like, secondly, because I need to know what's going on. Like, I just didn't want it to be so focused on the romance. So what I'm hoping is that now they're together, there will be less of the whole unrequited love bit, and we'll maybe just crack on with the action. And because they've pumped, there will be less of a should we know, and we can just crack on with the action. So I'm going to read the second one soon to see. Hopefully I'm right. And if I'm no, then yous will just get to hear me say pump a lot more, and that's class, innit? Then I read Cruel Beauty by Rosamund Hodge. So this was one that was recommended to me on Facebook through one of my book groups. I was looking for sort of a Beauty and the Beast retellings, and this was suggested as one of the best ones. So again, Simon got me this one for Christmas. Sorry to be slating all the books that you got me for Christmas, Simon, but it was dire. Dire. So, there's this dude, and he loves his wife, and him and his wife can't have kids, and so he makes a deal with, well, I mean, not really the devil, is it? So he makes a deal with the Gentle Lord, who's like the ruler of their world, and he grants people wishes, sort of a Rumpelstiltskin-esque, but they always come at a price. So he asks the Gentle Lord to make him and his wife have kids, and the Gentle Lord's like, aye, grand, cool, nae bother. So the wife falls pregnant with twins, and then the wife dies in childbirth. Not quite the bargain he was hoping for. And basically the price was that he also had to give up one of his daughters. So the firstborn daughter, I say firstborn, they were like 10 minutes apart, but whatevs. Firstborn daughter had to marry the Gentle Lord on her 17th birthday, and unfortunately that is Nyx. So Nyx grows up knowing that she is going to be sacrificed, so she feels like her dad picked her sister over her, which I mean, he did, so fair. So she harbours this resentment for her sister her entire life. She harbours the same sort of resentment for her dad, and the dad basically raises her with one mission and one mission only. When you turn 17, you'll marry him, but you're going to seduce him and you're going to kill him, because I'm going to train you to be an assassin, and then we'll be out of his rule and we'll have avenged your mum's death. Solid plan, solid plan. So this book was just rotten, really, really rotten. So Nyx is just an awful character. Like, she's just not well written at all, and she chops and changes her opinion so frequently that it's hard to even get to grips with where our thought process is. I just feel like when situations arise, you never know what Nyx you're going to get, so you never know what decision she's going to make, and like, I just don't like that. Like, I like to know my character. Right, so let's start with what I liked first of all. So I really liked the way that the author mixed in sort of your classic fairy tale legends like True Love's First Kiss and all of that stuff, as well as putting in a lot of Greek mythology and tying Greek mythology to a lot of the history in the place where it was set, and like all the gods and goddesses and stuff like that. I really enjoyed that. I think that it was a really cool mix, and it did create this really magical world, and I liked that there was the like Greek mythology elements in it. I've never seen it done quite like that before, so that was really, really interesting. And how she sort of made fairy tale stuff fit in with the Greek mythology, and you're like, oh, like that's quite clever. There just wasn't enough of that to save the book, but the bits that were like that I really did enjoy. Like, I enjoyed learning about the history, and I really enjoyed learning about their sort of magical system and the Greek gods and goddesses. Aye, totally interesting, great, right? Really enjoyed that, which I mean was the only redeeming part of the book, because the rest of the book is just a really shitty romance. So Nyx turns 17, she goes in, guns blazing, ready to ready to attack the gentle whatever his face is. She can't, because she's like, you're a babe, ain't you? Like, you're a bit of no bad. And she sort of develops this playful banter where no, right away, the playful banter doesn't start right away, but the attraction is instant and the flirtation is instant. Like, and for pretty much the minute she sees him, she's like, oofed, I want you. Like, and you and I going to do something at some point. By's the by. And it's so unbelievable. Like, this is the dude who killed your ma. This is the dude who, like, made your dad sacrifice you or your sister. Why are you just swooning? Like, maybe I just had a grudge different, but like, if that was me, I'd be like, absolutely no chance. I have a chastity belt on, you're no getting in my Nyx. Back off. Oh, I didn't even mean that pun, because Nyx and her name's Nyx. I just meant Nyx as in knickers. Oh, I've used myself at least. So, aye, she fancies him for the get-go, and then she meets one of his slaves, I guess, called Shadow. And it is literally his shadow. And starts snogging the Shadow, like, right for the get-go as well. So she meets the Shadow during the day. The Shadow takes her to her bed chambers, and she's like, oof, you're a handsome Shadow. Have you ever seen a handsome Shadow? God knows. But aye, so she's fancying the Shadow and all. And then, like, pretty much that, in fact, I think it is the same night, it's the same night she gets there. She's expecting the gentle dude to come to her bed, and he doesn't. His name's like Ineffexus or something at this point. You learn, like, what he calls himself. He doesn't refer to himself as the gentle god or the gentle giant or whatever he is. So she expects him to come to her bed to claim her, because obviously they are now married, and he doesn't. So she's like, alright, cool. And she basically snogs the Shadow, because she's like, he's not going to take my first kiss away from me, so I'm giving it to you. And then, because she kisses the Shadow can talk, and her and the Shadow form a bit of a relationship, and she fancies the Shadow as well. And it is literally a love triangle between her, this dude, and this dude's Shadow. That's the book. That's the book. And it's all about how much she hates herself, because she shouldn't want to pump him, and she shouldn't fancy them both, but she does. Blah blah blah. Dull. Again, don't care if you pump or no. Like, I'm no fussed. I'm so no fussed. Like, get back to the actual story. And I just feel like none of the characters are fleshed out really either. So Nyx hates her sister because she's had to protect her full life, and she feels like her mum had to die for her to live, and now she needs to die for her sister to live. So she's like, nah, like, why are you so much more important than everybody else in life? And I think that is fair that she feels that way. If I was in the same position, I'd get it. But then all of a sudden, her sister is like greeting for her because she misses her, and she's like, oh, you're no a total scumbag because you love me. Oh, like, and all of a sudden that's enough to make all the resentment that she's harboured for years and years and years disappear. All she wants more in the world is to be able to go and speak to her sister, to let her sister know, like, she's still alive, she's no come to any harm, like. So she does, she manages to go see her sister, and then the sister's just like, aye grand, happy you're alive, but by the way, see if you really loved me, you kill that big monster that you're shacking up with. And so she's like, fine, I'll do it, begrudgingly, like, and then she's like, aye, I'll kill the guy that she believes to be her one true love, but I'll no hate you for that either. It just made no sense. Absolute no sense whatsoever. There was just no character development. None. I didn't ship the romance. Either of the romances with the dude or the dude's shadow. Like, nah, I'm not here for that. And I just feel like there was just too much angst and sexual tension and not enough plot and character development. So it was just no a good time for me at all. There are more books in this series and I'm unclear as to whether it's these character stories that continue, because I feel like the end is quite finite, and so I'm unsure if the other books in the series are just books within the same universe but focusing on different characters, or if their story continues. But either way, I am frankly not interested, so I'll not be continuing in this series. And I rated this one a 2-star, so I would have gave it a 1-star, but I feel like I really did enjoy the bits in the book that were sort of for the Greek mythology and the history bits, so it's a wee bit of a redeeming quality to pull it up to a 2, but I mean, don't read it. I didn't really recommend it unless you are proper into teenage angst and love. And then I read The Young Team by Graham Armstrong, and Ange from Angie's Book Chatter actually sent me this for my birthday, so thank you very much, Ange, you're the best. And I thoroughly enjoyed this, so this just pulled the month back up after those 2 books back to back, and I really enjoyed it. So The Young Team, in case you're not Scottish, is basically what we refer to a group of young people now, but back in the day the Young Team was sort of what younger people would call themselves, and they formed a wee gang, and every wee town in Scotland would have a young team. And so the book is basically about gang culture in the west of Scotland, and I really did enjoy it. I felt like in fact, you know what, I'm not going to talk about it too much because me and Angela are actually going to do a video on it, so I'm not saying too much about my opinion. However, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought that it was a really good read, and it was just a great use of the Scottish dialect. Like, swedger, amazing word. They talk about getting their hole. Brilliant terminology. I say hole all the time, like probably too much, but I love that phrase, getting your hole. That's the best. And it was just a really good read. I thoroughly enjoyed it and I rated it a 4-star. So that was my June so far. I'm hoping that the end of the month is going to be, well, in fact I actually had quite a good month. I just had 2 sort of drab books, but I mean I got 2 5-stars also, so I will read another couple of drab books if I get another 2 5-stars in the end of the month. So I'm hoping that the end of the month is going to be on a similar par to the beginning of the month. Thank you very much for watching. If you do like my wrap ups, don't forget to like and subscribe. Bye!